it's so important to us to make sure that people are feeling fulfilled and that they have the tools to be successful. Our workers are people first, workers second.
Welcome to StaffBuffalo's Pain Points Podcast. Hi, welcome to another episode of the Pain Points Podcast. I'm Lauren Lewis, and today I'm really excited to be here at Say Yes Buffalo with Collin Gehl, Chief Human Resources Officer here at Say Yes. Collin and I go back to Buffalo Niagara Human Resources Association. We were both on the board together and started our journeys with BNHRA right around the same time, I think, as each other. And I assumed the role of president of BNHRA, and Collin thankfully approached me to be my president-elect and took over as president of BNHRA when I rolled off the board. So Collin, thank you so much for being here.
Oh, my pleasure. I'm excited.
I'm excited too. I know when we planned this a couple weeks ago, it was just one of those things like, oh my gosh, I need to have you on the podcast.
Yeah.
So I really appreciate you doing this with us and being part of the Pain Points podcast.
My pleasure.
I'd love to have you start by talking about your career in human resources. And I know it wasn't a linear path, as a lot of people, when they go on HR, it's not necessarily linear. You don't necessarily go to school for it, but I know you found your passion within HR. So I'd love for you to start telling us your journey.
Sure. I actually have a bachelor's degree in English from UB. And I graduated and I didn't know what I wanted to do. Yeah. And I ended up working in education administration for 4 years at a local charter school. Then I found my way to fundraising and development, and I worked at the History Museum, and then I worked at the Science Museum, and then I moved my way into museum management. So I was doing that at the Science Museum. And then I went to grad school for organizational leadership. And there was a program put on by the late great Madai College, or then university, and now no longer. But the program really changed my life.
Yeah.
It showed me how to operate within an organization. And I learned a lot of key principles and things like that. And fast forward a few years, and I had an opportunity to join the staff of Child and Family Services, Berry County, the local nonprofit. And I went in and they had a management fellowship. So basically it was a paid position for a full year, and you were rotating in different departments and programs.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah, it was very innovative, started by the former CEO, Francisco Vasquez, and I was the first one to go through it. So
just one person was going through it. It was just you.
It was me and another. I had a co-fellow at the time.
Oh, but the first group really going through this.
The first group, yeah. And she finished the fellowship, but she went back to being a stay-at-home mom. That was nice. But let me do that. And I went in there with a different mindset, and I said, I'm going to take advantage of this opportunity. It was the largest nonprofit I had ever worked for, and I said, okay, let's see what this looks like. And HR was my second rotation throughout my fellowship. And I was working under the new HR director, Amy Cortesi, who you know.
Yeah, of course.
And so I always will shout out Amy with everything HR, because she was the one who said to me, she said, do you have an HR background? I said, no. She said, you're really insightful, and I really think, you'd be great. And she said, if I have an opening in my department, I would love to have you join. And 6 months into the fellowship, an opening happened in her department, and then I went into HR.
Oh, wow, that's great.
Yeah.
I always knew you and Amy knew each other, and I don't know if I knew that part of the story.
Yeah.
That's fantastic.
And so we bonded because she was really new at the organization. I was able to do a lot more in terms of after work activities and things like that, because my co-fellow, she had a husband, young kids and things like that. She was like, I had to do that. But I said, I'll take that on. And so there were some job fairs and things like that. And so I was attending those, and Amy was there as well. So she really got to see me in action.
Yeah.
So we bonded during that time, and the opportunity to join the HR staff, which was going through a transition at the time, presented itself. And I was brought in to do talent acquisition and recruiting. And I had done that work in my past nonprofit experiences, but we didn't have HR. So it was just, I was doing these things.
You just had to do it. Right. It wasn't like a full talent acquisition or HR role.
Correct.
It was like, hey, we need to hire somebody, or we should at least get our name out in the community.
Right. And I had, at one point when I was at the Science Museum, I had to recruit, hire, and then manage a team of 55 people. And so
Wow.
it was for a special exhibit. And so at the time, I originally had 5 people on staff, but then we were going to be expanding for this period of time. So
That's some big growth quickly.
Yeah, and I did it. And I did it with no extra pay on mine.
We don't hold any grudges against the
you know
no.
what? I'm like, all right. But again, that was a great learning experience. So I had already done a lot of this stuff, but I just didn't know that this was really HR. So I came in and I started, and I really started doing the work. And because the department was going through such a transition, I had really a lot of autonomy. Amy she was guiding me, but she said, I think you have this. And I did.
Yeah.
I had to learn the particulars of background checking and doing things like that, especially for a social services nonprofit.
Right, there's certain background checks they need to have to get people to work there and make sure they have a clear screening.
I had about a week to learn.
Wow.
And then my coworker said, you got it. And I was like, oh. So I said, all right. So I did. And I was able to really build some best practices and to do some things and to streamline some processes in a pretty short period of time. And I feel like I really got a handle on my role within about 90 days.
Wow.
Which I think had to do with the fact that I was no spring chicken at that point.
You already had some work experience behind you,
yeah.
and I think that lends itself to a lot, because you have to understand what goes on in organizations, and then partner that with your organizational leadership masters.
Yeah, that degree was so helpful and key because it really taught me a lot about the particulars of an organization. And even though I knew it, but to really understand it from an academic perspective, and I was able to utilize all the things that I learned throughout that program and put it into practice, and especially with a larger nonprofit, which I had never had maneuvered before.
There's different entities within Child and Family Services too, so when you're navigating that, each entity probably has its own dynamic.
Oh yeah.
That you have to figure out, okay, how do we hire for this entity versus that entity? Different personalities.
Yeah.
Working with the different leadership staff and their personalities and the culture.
Yeah. And I will say to any Child and Family Services staff that may be watching this nowadays, this is taking it back to 10 years ago is when I started. So the dynamics may have changed. So I'm gonna put it out there. So
but I think that's any organization.
Yeah. Absolutely.
It's good or bad, right? There's a lot of just good in different ways.
Absolutely.
For different silos of organizations, different company. Like company to company too.
Absolutely.
So it's not necessarily a negative thing. It's definitely learning the inner workings and dynamics and personality.
You know what? And I always feel that people's perspectives are shaped by their experiences, and so I was really just trying to understand what was going on, trying to understand dynamics, and try to make recommendations on best practices. And also I had to build trust with the folks because they didn't know who I was. And I was coming in, and there were some things that departments had been handling quite a bit. And I had to remember having conversations with Amy, and I was like, shouldn't HR really be doing this? And she said, it would be recommended that we would. And so I recommended it, and I had to build trust because some people didn't trust that it was something that could get done, and I had to really prove myself. But I also built a lot of good relationships. I said, let me work on building relationships with people. It was important, it was key, and especially being able to make an impact on an organization that was so large. And I needed to do that. We had a smallish HR staff for the number of people within that organization. And so I really needed to make an impact, and I had to build that buy-in with people.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I think sometimes HR, especially in the past, has had a negative connotation. People are nervous. People say, "Oh, HR, I'm getting in trouble or I'm getting fired."
Yeah.
And I think the whole industry has really worked to change that narrative a bit and really be partners to an organization, partners to employees. And a lot of it does go back to building trust, establishing relationships, and being there to support the employees for everything, career development, cultural initiatives at the organization. Yeah. Of course, there's compliance and employee relations things you have to handle too, but I think it really is there. HR is there to support the employees and the organization and add value.
Yeah. I often say that where I am right now would say yes. That HR operates as a partner to everybody within the organization. How we partner looks different depending on the department, the program, or the employee, because it's based on their needs.
Right. So talk about different entities again, right?
Yeah.
Like different employees, different departments, there's different needs.
Yeah.
I want to go back to talk about getting your master's in organizational leadership. So you were working before you decided to go back and get your master's.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you're working full time while you're getting your master's, which is a whole undertaking. What made you choose organizational leadership?
I'll be honest with you. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and I was struggling in my career journey, and I didn't have anybody to really sit down with me and say, let's talk about your career. Let's talk about what you're good at, what your interests are, or anything like that. And my mom had come to me and she said, you know what, I was at something and I ran into this lady from Medaille College, and she said they had this organizational leadership program, and I think it sounded like something that might be up your alley.
Yeah.
And shout out to Mom. So Dr. Gehl,
Dr.
thank
Gehl.
you. But
Huge fans of Dr. Gehl.
Yeah. So I met the career counselor, and her name was Mary, and she talked to me about the program, and I just said, wow, this sounds really good. And Medaille was doing this thing where it was an accelerated program, so it was like 19 months in a row.
Okay.
You barely got any breaks, so you didn't have any semester breaks, and it was all in the evening. So it was built around for people who worked full-time jobs throughout the day.
That's perfect, yeah.
And so, but the content and what the program was going to be about, especially about really understanding the inner workings of an organization and developing ways to be successful in that, I just thought, this is exactly what I need. So that's how I chose it. And I was so thrilled. I had a really wonderful cohort. I'm still in touch with many people from my cohort, including my study group. So, So
it was a great experience for you.
It was a wonderful
really helped shape your career.
Yeah, it really did. And as an aside, I must have signed some sort of waiver. I don't remember, but I must say, yeah, I did. And when they were promoting the program, almost until they finished, they had my image.
Oh my gosh!
And at that point, I had gotten a little more notoriety, so it was like Collin Gehl, class of 2011, organizational leadership. So you
were like the spokesmodel, whether you knew it or not.
But I was an ambassador of the program.
That's awesome.
And I still am. I'm so sorry that the school is longer, but if there's any versions of those programs that exist, I think it was just so important, and it was certainly impactful in my life.
And you probably didn't even know at the time how much it would shape your career and your journey.
Never. I didn't imagine where I ended up. Because again, I wasn't even sure I wanted to do HR. But even when I started my HR journey, how I imagined it was going to go is not how it went.
So let's talk about that.
Sure.
Here you are, we're sitting in your office at Say Yes, Chief Human Resources Officer here.
Yeah.
And knowing you and knowing your journey a bit.
Yeah.
What kind of started getting you here was the partnership between Say Yes and Child and Family Services.
Correct.
And Child and Family Services really lent you to Say Yes to help with HR.
Yeah.
So let's talk about all of that, because I love hearing this, and I was so happy for you when this really turned into a full-time HR role for you here, because I think just your background, your passion for HR, for Say Yes, for this community, really, this is the perfect spot for you. Currently.
It really is. And so when I started at Say Yes, I said that my second rotation was HR in the fellowship program. And the first assignment I had was to attend the orientation for Say Yes Buffalo. So Say Yes had been under the umbrella of another organization, and they had signed a contract with Child and Family Services to become an affiliate of Child and Family Services. So all of their staff had to be oriented at the same time. And so I came in and I'm sitting, I was just observing. And so I'm watching this and I was like, oh, I said, I said, Say Yes. And I had heard of Say Yes. And I was like, and I said, wait, I don't understand like these dynamics. I didn't understand what was going on because I literally was just brought in and I'm like watching this. So Amy explained everything later. But I remember that, and it was impactful for me. And I was the new guy in the HR department once I moved into the HR department. And so Say Yes was the newest entity, and they were growing tremendously. And I helped hire a lot of the staff. And then all of my HR colleagues at Child and Family said, "You're the new guy, so you're gonna do all the trainings for the new organization, everything like that." At the time, Say Yes was located on Main and Tupper, and Child and Family Services for HR, we were located at 330 Delaware, which was like 3 blocks away. So I would just be walking back and forth and doing trainings at Say Yes. So I got to know a lot of people. Obviously, when I was hiring people, I knew them, and so much so that there's some people who would say I was their personal HR person. They would come to me for everything, and I was like, I don't do that. But it would, and they'd be like, "You get me the right person." I was like, "You just have to email them." But it was fine. but I love my Say Yes team, and I love the team, and I didn't realize the impact that I was making. And Say Yes did an organizational survey towards the end of 2018. And one of the things that came out of that survey was that they needed on-site HR. And so our CEO, Dave Rust, came to the head of HR, who at that point was Erica Rieger, who is currently the head of HR she's a CHRO at Child and Family Services. And said to her, we did a survey. They wanted our staff wants on-site HR, and we don't have money for a full-time HR person, but we would want to have a half-time HR person, and we want it to be Collin because that was the request.
Oh, I love it. So you were personally requested,
right. And so,
but that just shows the relationships and trust you built with the team here.
Absolutely. And I'll never forget it. Erica came to my office and she said, "Can I talk to you?" And I remember I was like, "What is going on?" and then she said, "I have some really good news." And she sat down and I was like, "Okay." And then she told me about this request, and she had already developed a whole job description around it. And I was like, okay. And I said, "Please give me a night to consider," because I never make a decision in the moment. I always have to at least reflect over the evening. And I said yes the next day.
Said yes to say yes.
Yes, I said yes to say yes. And because my whole thing was that they wanted me, I wanted to have an opportunity to make an impact on them. I found it really exciting for my career.
Absolutely.
And so I said, "Sure, let's do this." And I started on April Fool's Day of 2019 at Say Yes.
Do you know we started StaffBuffalo on April Fool's Day, 2015?
Oh my God, that's hilarious.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
We started it prior, but really launched April 1st, 2015.
Yeah.
So there's a good thing about that April Fool's Day.
Apparently. And when I'll never forget going into my office the first day, it wasn't ready for me. And I was like, am I being punked on April Fool's Day? But it was okay. Yeah. But I came in and when I tell you that it was challenging, not necessarily working at Say Yes, but what I realized was how different the cultures were between Child and Family Services and Say Yes. And it was like night and day in a lot of ways. And so I had to really navigate that. And the good thing was I had an office at Say Yes. I had an office at Child and Family. That was good. But when I got here or got to Say Yes, because people had not had on-site HR, people were like coming into my office to give me so much information, and I had to actually start setting office hours because I couldn't get work because I was just talking to everybody the whole time that I was here.
Which is good. You need to talk to everyone and get the pulse and understanding of what's going on and what the needs are. Yeah. But at the same time, you have stuff to get done. So setting those boundaries was very important.
Very much so. And I had to, and one of the things that because I was trying to learn the dynamics, I didn't want to just, internally when I was like, all these people kept coming in, I was like, I can barely get anything done. I wanted to say, listen, hold off. But then I said, let me try to understand the dynamics. But I have a wonderful leader in David Rust, or Dave as he's known. And so he and I were really able to sit down and talk about it. And when I said, I would like to do office hours, do you think that, I said, is that cool? I don't want to suddenly limit people's time with me. And he was like, no, that's perfect. But Dave, from the beginning, when I came in, he had a clear pathway for me, which I did not. When I accepted the role, I did not know he had a clear pathway. But on my first day when I met with him, he made it very clear. He said to me, he said, "Collin, we're so excited you're here. I just want to let you know I have it all planned out." And I was like, okay. And then he said, "You're going to be our first full-time HR director." He said, "We will have the money. It will start in the budget year starting 2021 to 2022. At this point, we are coming at the end of 2018 and 2019. Yeah. And he said, and that's when it's going to start. And he said, but in the meantime, this is what we're going to do. But he said, I have this all planned out. And I'm sitting there, just taking this all in. And externally, I'm like, internally, I'm like, no, because I was not interested in being an HR director.
You weren't?
I wasn't.
Really?
I love talent acquisition.
Yeah.
I really do. And that was my passion. Now, I wanted to direct talent acquisition, but I had been working at Child and Family Services, and I'd watched the HR directors and CHROs and all the stuff they had to deal with, and I had filled in a couple times, and I was like, I don't want this to be my life. I was like, absolutely not. But of course, Child and Family Services is a different organization than Say Yes.
Yep.
And I just really love talent acquisition so much. I just was like, all these extra things, this isn't something I really want to be involved in. At least that's what I thought. But I kept saying to myself, there's a reason why you're here at this organization. And even though when Dave was telling me this, I was like, no, I just can't see that for myself. But I also said, Collin, you're here. You're gonna do this and you'll figure this out.
Figure it out. Yep.
And so that first year, I was really able to navigate a lot, which was fantastic. But really what cemented things for me and made me realize Dave is right, this is a pathway for me, was when March of 2020, when we went on lockdown.
Of course.
And we were locked down. I couldn't go to 2 offices. I was at home.
And was this, so March 2020, when really COVID hit and the pandemic hit and everyone was working from home, you were still working both jobs.
Still working both jobs,
wow.
but I was only in one place because I no longer could say, I'm at Say Yes, I'm concentrating on Say Yes, or I'm at Child and Family, I'm concentrating on Child and Family. I was now in my house, and so I would get emails and phone calls, and depending on who it was, I'd have to change up. My reporting relationships were different. When I was at Say Yes, I was on their senior management team from the minute I walked in the door. I reported directly to the CEO. At Child and Family Services, I reported to the CHRO. I was not on their senior management team. There were like all these other dynamics and stuff at play. And as I said, the cultures were totally different. So depending on who I'm talking to, there would be differences. One of the things I always bring home, that I always remembered about when I was doing work for Say Yes as a Child and Family Services employee is that Say Yes always had a more generous PTO policy. I'm sorry, that's what it is. And I remember telling the Say Yes team, okay, this is what your PTO things are. So people be off, Say Yes will be off. And I still had to work because I was Child and Family. So I was like, I don't have that. They were like, oh, Collin, aren't you excited because we have a 4-day weekend? I said, I do not.
You're like, I'm working.
So it was, but just dealing with all those types of dynamics, but I was able to do it. And I realized, I was like, I'm dealing with a lot here. And I was enjoying the work. But I realized, I said, I really love working at Say Yes. I'm enjoying the work, and I am serving as their HR director because I remember Dave used to always be calling me the HR director. I was like, don't say that, that's my actual title, because I kept being so worried that Francisco Vasquez would be like, Collin's out in the street doing this, and he's such a wonderful man. He wouldn't have cared. He wouldn't have cared.
Yeah.
But I was like, but I realized I said, I'm doing the work of an HR director, and I was like, and if they're going to offer me this role, I was like, this is a really wonderful opportunity. It's a wonderful organization. I'm going to go for it.
You're like, maybe I am an HR professional and a talent acquisition professional.
Yeah.
That switch just kind of naturally happened for you.
It did. So I try to look at positives in life. So the COVID of it all there's a lot of negatives with it, but it did bring things into focus with me and really sort of helped me to really see the pathway that Dave had believed for me. And I always tell him, I was like, you were right. I said, you were right.
He saw it in you and saw the value you are bringing to Say Yes and could bring in the future, which is amazing.
Yeah.
Collin, tell us about Say Yes.
Sure.
What does Say Yes do?
So Say Yes Buffalo is a social services / education nonprofit. So traditionally, we are known for a Promise Scholarship, which is a scholarship for Buffalo students to attend a higher education institution, whether it's a traditional 4-year college, 2-year college, or some sort of post-secondary training. But we also provide supports along the way. So the whole idea is that Say Yes will provide supports to ensure that students complete high school. We really were formed in response response to increasing the graduation rate for Buffalo Public Schools. So in 2009, the high school graduation rate in Buffalo was 49%.
Wow.
So Say Yes launched in the Say Yes Buffalo chapter launched in 2012. And our most recent numbers we are at 74%.
Oh my gosh.
Graduation rate.
That's
now,
amazing.
So and I would say that we can't just say Yes did it all.
Right.
So many entities, but the fact is we have really made an impact, and that was why we were formed. And so we have we talk about the cradle to career continuum. So we start supporting students as young as 3 years old. We have a 3-year-old program in 8 of our Buffalo public schools.
Nice.
And they're 3-year-old classrooms, and that our Say Yes staff is staffing. And so we go from 3 years old all the way into college. And then we also have a workforce development arm at Say Yes, and so we've had apprenticeships for the last 3 years.
And you were very instrumental in helping with the apprenticeships for Say Yes, correct? Because I know you did at least on the HR path.
Yeah, so
you did your HR apprenticeship.
Yeah, and we currently have our HR apprentice is finishing up his program. He's been with us for 3 years. He's just about to get his associate's degree. He already got his certificate.
Awesome.
So with the apprenticeship program, what you're doing is you are working half-time in whatever company or organization that you're placed in, and you're going to school or attending or a training program half-time as well. And our apprentice finished his certificate first out of everybody, and then he said, I'm just going to continue and go for my associates. And so
awesome.
He'll be completing his associates this year as
well. That's great.
So we have this sort of expansive arm. So as an organization, we really are helping to support the Buffalo students, and particularly Buffalo public and charter school students. But we recently, in the fall of 2025, we have expanded into Niagara Falls.
Oh wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Really continue to make a big impact in the whole community.
Absolutely.
And not just limited to the city of Buffalo or...
Absolutely. And it was something that the Niagara Falls School District was interested in, and we've been working with them for the last couple years, but we officially went into the schools this past fall. So we are doing our community schools work in Niagara Falls, as well as we have a program for young men of color called the Boys and Men of Color Initiative that's now also in Niagara Falls, and we have our workforce development also in Niagara Falls as well. So we're doing all of those.
I think the workforce development and the apprentice programs are so great.
Yeah.
Because it exposes people to different career opportunities.
Yeah.
It helps get them the skills they need.
Yes.
To obtain a job in that field and something they might not have had access to before.
Absolutely. And even with the workforce development arm and that apprenticeship program, it's continuing to evolve, and we're really trying to plan career development around it, which is really one of my things that I've talked about here at Say Yes. Because I always just think back to the fact that nobody sat down with me and talked to me about career stuff at any point throughout my career. I had an executive coach that I think my parents got me a couple sessions when I finished my master's degree, and she's fantastic. Her name's Jerry Grossman, and I love her. So she worked with me on some things, but at this point I was well into my career. Plus, I wasn't like that wasn't free. I had my parents helped pay for that one. But at any other time, no one did this.
Right.
So for me, what I've built into Say Yes is career conversations. I think it's really important. I really think that people need to they at least need to be aware of a career. And even if they're not, even if they don't know, just really identifying what it is that they like. But the earlier you have those conversations with people, the better. And I think the more deliberate people are in terms of making their job choices.
Oh, yeah.
Because I always feel badly when people just are like, I don't know what I'm going to do, or they're floating around from here to there. And I'm like, is anybody really sitting down with them and helping them?
Yeah. And they're just taking a job to take a job and see what happens. And you do need some strategy around it and have more of a realization that there are options out there.
Absolutely.
And a lot of times options beyond what you even might know.
And I think that for some employers, they don't like people to know the options because they want to keep their people where they are, which I totally can appreciate. But I just think that there's just so much opportunity, and we just have so much talent and so much untapped talent. And I think that people, if they really were able to understand how they could apply their talent into sort of career paths, I think the skies will be the limit. And again, you have more success in certain regions and everything. Your region just becomes successful. If your people are successful, the region itself is successful.
Absolutely. It's like snowball effect.
Absolutely.
I'm seeing synergies between your love for talent acquisition and what you do within HR.
Yeah.
And really helping people identify career paths. I mean, that's talent acquisition.
Yeah.
Helping put the right people in the right seats.
Yeah.
Based on skills and qualifications, but also maybe opportunities that are there.
Yeah.
And let's go back to that organizational leadership too.
Yeah.
Culture fits.
Yeah.
So finding the right culture fit for what you want out of a career.
Yeah.
Being in the nonprofit space throughout a lot of your career, almost all of it, right?
Yeah, really.
Not everyone will thrive in a nonprofit setting.
Correct.
Not everyone understands there's different trade-offs if you work in a nonprofit versus a corporate structure, a corporation.
Yeah.
And having different mentalities around that and the opportunities and the passion behind it can make a big difference in nonprofit.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I always encourage people when they're working for a nonprofit to really understand the mission and to support the mission. Because I always say, if you're not interested in the mission, don't work there.
Don't work there.
Or if you have to work a place because you're like, I need money, I need a job, and I just need to do this. I said, plan it for a certain period of time and then make an exit plan. It's something I encourage people to do. But again, that goes back to the concept of really planning and even around career planning and things like that. But I was like, you go in with a plan. You say, okay, I'm going to do this and I am going to eventually exit. I encourage people to stay in a role. If you know you're in a role that you don't particularly care for, or you're like, you need it for a means to an end, I said, stay in at least 6 months to a year if you can. Because I would say at least do that year. I said, that's generally be good. But I said, if it's really one of those things, listen, I just need to do this, then just do 6 months to a year.
Yeah.
So do that, but then start planning for ways in which you could be searching for other opportunities. But I said, don't stay in something that you don't like, and don't join an organization that you don't care about.
I think that's important. If you're going to work for a nonprofit, you have to fully believe in the mission.
Yeah.
And care about it.
Yeah.
Because you're all ambassadors for that organization.
Absolutely.
Whether you're an employee, you're on a board, you have to believe in the mission of the organization to help it move forward.
Absolutely.
It's super really important.
Yeah.
And Collin, as we're sitting in your office, there's beautiful pictures and signs and notes to you for people that you've worked with. Thank you for all you've done. And I know you've told me this are from your leadership development cohorts. Yeah.
So I'd say yes, we have 3 different leadership programs. I developed Leadership 101, which was early in career for emerging leaders is what I called it. And I developed that program in 2022. And I had actually received a Workplace Innovation Award from
that's awesome.
In 2023.
Yes, and you were the big winner for that.
I was the big winner. Yeah, they flew me out to Vegas, and I got to see Janet Jackson. So that was.
See, there is some fun, HR.
Absolutely, that was fun. But yeah, so that was great, and there was and that program did so well that the staff was like, "This one's 201." So I developed 201, and I just launched the second cohort of 201. So that program is developed, and I also launched Leadership 301 just about a month and a half ago.
That's
so
awesome.
Currently, I'm facilitating all 3. It's a little much.
I hope you have an apprentice helping you.
At this point, he's got his own stuff that he's
doing.
That's
true.
So,
yeah.
But I will say that again, that goes back to my love of talent acquisition, talent development, because I really love being able to do it. But yes, I have this one picture from my first Leadership 101 cohort that I've launched, and we just graduated cohort 4.
Wow. So 4 groups have gone through this.
Yeah.
That's amazing.
And we have cohort 5 is going to launch in the next few months.
And these are all Say Yes employees going through this.
Yes employees, yeah.
Awesome. It's amazing to have that opportunity to develop their careers within their organization and see the opportunities. And I think professional development is so important. For employees.
It's key here, and we really invest in our team. We do a lot of professional development. Most of our staff have a professional development budget line that everybody gets, but we just do so much professional development, even within the organization, in the programs and the departments. Professional development will happen at least once a month.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
It's so important. And that is helpful for employee retention as well.
Absolutely.
So when you're attracting employees to say yes, it's important that you're attracting people to the mission of the organization and they fit the values and the culture here. But also, when you're talking about retaining employees, you don't just want to hire people. You want to make sure that they're feeling fulfilled in their career at their organization and they see that they get the development they need to continue to be successful.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. And it's so important to us to make sure that people are feeling fulfilled and that they have the tools to be successful. Dave Rust, our CEO, always says that our workers are people first, workers second. So we really try to remember that, and we want to remind our team that they're people first as well. So we're very supportive of our team. We offer very generous and robust PTO policy, as I referred to before. Yeah. We have also 21 paid agency holidays now.
Wow.
I know. And we do half day Fridays in the summer.
That's so important.
So we do that. And a lot of times people are like, how are people getting work done? People work really hard.
Yeah.
Our team works very hard here. And we've been able to really be successful, right? Currently, right now, we're at 171 employees.
Wow.
And we've been around since 2012. And now starting in Buffalo and now expanding into Niagara Falls. So we're really doing
so much opportunity here. And the impactful work is just going to continue to grow.
Absolutely.
Spread, and it's so needed.
Absolutely.
And Collin, the impactful work you do does not just stop at Say Yes.
Correct.
You've been on different boards as well. Like I said earlier, Collin and I got to know each other through Buffalo Niagara Human Resources Association, BNHRA's board.
Yeah.
And like I said, you came to me and were like, hey, I'm thinking, have you chosen anyone for your president-elect yet? And I was like, no.
Yeah.
Why? Because it was in the back of my mind that you would be an amazing next president for BNHRA. But I knew that was at the point in time when you were kind of working between Say Yes and Child and Family Services. Yeah. So you had a lot on your plate. And I remember thinking to myself, I don't know if Collin will want this. Yeah. So when you came and asked me about it, I was like, yes, please.
Well, remember, I thought that it was going to start the following year, and you were like, no, it's next month. And I was like, why did I open my big mouth? But I remember I thought to myself, there's a reason.
There's a reason.
I said, this is happening for a reason, let me do it. But
yeah. And I think you and I are kind of similar in a way where it's like, you can jump in and figure it out.
Yeah.
Things are happening for a reason. When Tiffany tapped me to be president, I was like, what?
Yeah.
Me?
Yeah.
Are you sure?
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, you know what? Let's dive in head first. Let's figure this out.
Yeah.
And that's where you grow and develop personally and professionally.
Yeah.
And I think we had a great synergy working together for transitioning from me as president to you. And I just knew it was going to be in an even better position with Collin at the helm of BNHRA.
I feel like it was just a different position. I don't think it was any better. I just think that it was evolution. I think it was evolution, really.
Absolutely. And I think now with Laura as president of BNHRA, it's going to another level.
Yeah, she's actually bringing technology, because I was like, that was not my forte. So I'm thrilled that they've really moved into the 21st century now.
Which is amazing. Yes, they needed that.
They did.
Which is great. Now, every profession, technology is taking over.
Yeah. Really.
And you have to really utilize it and make sure you're using the tools appropriately.
Absolutely.
Which is great.
Absolutely.
Collin, if anyone is looking to get a hold of you or get in touch with you, connect with you, maybe they want to learn more about Say Yes, they want to learn more about navigating a career in HR, how can they get in touch with you?
Sure. First, I'll talk about Say Yes first. So our website is sayyesbuffalo.org, or if you just Google Say Yes Buffalo, it'll pop right up. I can be, I'm on LinkedIn, so it's Collin Gehl, COLLINGEHL, so you should be able to find me on LinkedIn. And my email address is cgehbuffalo.org. And my only thing is that if you reach out to me and I don't know, you tell me why you're reaching out.
Yes.
So I have context, because if you just randomly, I'll be like, I don't know who this is. So, but please do that, and I will be more than happy to respond.
I was going to add that if you didn't, because I know that's always a big thing for you, because you want to make sure if someone's reaching out to you, you know why.
Yeah, I get a lot.
Then kind of get some background.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it just it starts making connection right there.
Yeah. But I'm always here and happy to have a conversation about careers, to help people find tools that they need in order to make connections with other people. And I feel like I am here in my position for a reason, and I want to just be able to continue to help and give back.
And I've said this before about Collin at a BNHRA event a month or so ago when we were presenting on the pain points of recruiting. Collin is one of the most empathetic and thoughtful HR professionals I know. And it's how he is as a professional, it's how he is as a person. So when he says he's there to help and wants to help, truly means it.
Yes, I do.
And I always admire that about you because
Yeah.
you can tell you are thoughtful about everything you do when it comes to work, boards you're on, and you can see it over your career too.
Yeah.
How that's really helped get you to where you are as CHRO now too.
Yeah, I feel like it is my responsibility to leave a situation or leave a situation better than where I found it. And I know I've struggled a lot in my career. I've been through lots of struggles just throughout my life, and I don't want other people to go through that. I'm not one of those people that says, you got to pay your dues. I'm like, I feel like there's a reason why I was here to pay the dues. I was strong enough to do it. I don't want anybody else to have to go through that. So what I really want to do is be able to chart a pathway for others that's much smoother so that they can be successful.
And know that there's support.
Absolutely.
So if you feel like you're just doing something to pay your dues,
Yeah.
let's figure out how we can find support in that too. And everyone can find that in their own careers.
Yeah, absolutely.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Collin, for being part of the Pain Points podcast today. I was so excited to have you on the show.
It was my pleasure.
So thank you. And thank you for watching another episode of the Pain Points podcast. Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Pain Points podcast. If you enjoyed what you heard, be sure to follow us so you never miss out on future episodes.